You're listening to Nurture Your Zest. I'm your host, Ashleigh King, and I will introduce you to a wealth of interesting, fascinating individuals from all walks of life who will share their stories, how they've overcome challenges, and you will find out their top tips for success. Through this podcast, you can gain tips to grow and change your life and the way you see the world, and help you to nurture your zest. Hello, I'm Ash, and I'm delighted to be with Paul Lancaster today. Paul, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Paul Lancaster. I'm the founder and director of a company called Plan Digital, but I'm probably more well known for being the founder and event producer for the 5-day Newcastle Startup Week festival that runs in May.
I have to say, I went to Newcastle Startup Week earlier this year, and it was amazing. As someone who was a very new business owner, completely overwhelmed, it gave me so much learning and a brilliant network, and I'm really excited about it. So I can't wait to talk more about it with you. I think one of the things that's nice about chatting with you today is that you're always so busy in the sense that you put on lots of events, but there's always a lot of people waiting to talk, and often it's you don't always get the time to have a chat. So it's really great to do that today. So before we talk much about Newcastle Startup Week, I wonder, how did you come up with the idea that you would do a whole week about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so some people might know this already, but I've spent about 15 years working in different roles, helping other people start or grow their own business. So I've worked for local enterprise agencies, youth enterprise schemes. I've worked for big corporates. I've worked for the government for a little while. So I've always been in roles where I've been paid to give people free help and advice and signposting and matchmaking sort of things. And when you're hanging out with entrepreneurs, when you're in that kind of world, I found myself where I'd read all the books, I'd been to all the events, I had a great network, I was surrounded by inspirational people. You can't help but kind of catch the bug, and you want to do it yourself. And I think that was just kind of built up inside me. I was like, look, I've got to do this. I've got to try it for myself, because until you actually do it for yourself, you don't really know what it's like to start your own business. So basically 3.5 years ago, start my own business, Plan Digital. Initially, it was just kind of make that change from employee to self-employed. Can I bring in enough money to keep myself going and pay the bills? So for the first 6 months, I was working as a consultant, so I was getting paid retainer fees, one-off fees to give marketing and business development advice to usually startups that were looking to scale up. So they'd had a bit of success, or they had a bit of funding, and they wanted to increase the rapidly grow their market share. So I did that for 6 months, and I did like doing that, but there's always been something inside me that thought, I don't want to be a consultant. There's loads of consultants. Like, what is it that I can do that no one else can do? And I think the thing that if one thing I've got like a superpower or whatever, I suppose, is my network, online and offline. So bringing that together, putting on an event that is basically like the embodiment of everything I'm all about, is inspiring people, helping people signpost, matchmake, helping people fulfill their potential and pursue their dreams, and make it easier for people to start or grow their own business. And also, I'm really passionate about the Northeast as well. And I think I've been to loads of events over the years, lots of really good events, but they're mostly half-day events, one-day events. It's very difficult to get people to genuinely start and grow their own business through that, or even to attract people from outside the region for a half-day or a one-day event. But a 5-day event, that's significant. It does make people sit up and go, wow, like, that's interesting. Why are you doing it in Newcastle and not London? And over 3 years, we've seen people are travelling from all over the UK and overseas as well to come to Startup Week. So yeah, it's going pretty well so far.
It sure looks that way, and I'll be interested to know in a moment how your numbers have changed, and also about the impact that that's had locally or on the the local economy, but also, you know, how many people have come from far away. I have to say, having gone, I was really quite surprised going in at how big it was, but also the diversity of the people attending. That's something that's really important to me. I find that sometimes going into some networking events, it can feel really scary as a woman. And I think sometimes, you know, I'm a really creative person who likes to make things look pretty. And sometimes it can be really scary going into some spaces because I feel like I might not fit. So what I really liked about Newcastle Startup Week was not only was it diverse and inclusive in terms of ethnicities represented or people from other backgrounds or cultures, it was also the wide breadth of different types of startups, different types of scale-ups, the different kinds of industries that were represented. I met so many people who were doing things in retail or tech or apps, you know, making things, creatives who were doing great projects, food companies, and it was really, really inspiring. Another thing that I loved about it was sometimes you go to networking events that are intended for new entrepreneurs, and they can sometimes feel quite patronizing because it can feel like you're just getting some steps that are so simple and so basic. And of course you need that when you're a new startup. But I think having the aspirational, inspiring speaker element was really good, because while there were opportunities to get more detailed advice about funding and things like that, actually hearing from people and hearing their challenges and what they went through was hugely helpful. I know my favorite speaker was actually Lizzie of Minder. She completely stole the show. Right, she was phenomenal. Shout out to Lizzie. And also, I have to say, I really liked Brad. He had a very different approach to what I would normally like as a speaker. I think if I saw someone like him normally at a networking event, I'd probably hide away. But he was amazing, and he really motivated me.
Yeah, well, no, it's good that you've seen that. I mean, that's something that I'm really proud of that we've managed to do with Startup Week, because I think it reflects my personal interests as well. So, you know, I'm probably, if you look at my career, you know, I've spent a lot of time working for, I say, business, local enterprise agencies, youth enterprise schemes, but I've also spent a lot of time working in sort of tech focused roles. So it depends when people have encountered me, do you know what I mean? Some people see me as very much a tech or digital guy. Other people know me as just a general business startup guy. I didn't want Newcastle Startup Week to just be a tech or digital thing. I wanted it to be for anyone. Doesn't matter what sector you're in, what age, demographic, doesn't matter. You're all invited. Want to make it as inclusive as possible. And when you look at the audience, like you say, I think we've done a pretty good job of that. And we actually published an impact report earlier this year, which was done with Newcastle University. So that's available on the newcastlestartupweek.com website. If you go onto the blog, you can, on the right-hand side, I think, or at the bottom of the page, you can download the report. But it shows that we have done a really good job. I think it's about 60-40 or 55-45 split between male-female. So we're, you know, and even the speakers that we use, we have about 70 speakers across the 5 days, and it's almost 50-50 male-female split. And it's not that we've got like a quota or anything like that. It's just that generally, sometimes I actually struggle to find male speakers on certain subjects because there's too many good women out there. So yeah, but I think we've done a really good job of doing that and making it as inclusive as possible. And the two speakers you mentioned there, definitely Lizzie, absolute rock star. I mean, she's such an inspirational speaker. Had her own challenges, you know, she had a lot of problems with mental health issues, but she just puts everything into it, and everybody loves Lizzie, you know, when you hear her speak. And Brad as well, you know, Brad is an interesting guy. He's someone who personally has inspired and supported me a lot over the years. His books, you know, he's got books that if you read them, they've definitely along the way inspired me to start my own business, and him personally has given me a lot of support over the years. So but he's Marmite, right? Not everyone likes him, but we've got enough speakers the other day that there's someone for everyone.
You're so right. And it's really funny talking to you, because as we're speaking, I feel like my mind's pinging in 100 directions of different conversations I want to have. So I want to come back to Lizzie for a second. I think she's hugely inspiring. The fact that she's been through some mental health struggles, and I think it's not really spoken enough about. There's so much stigma around mental health. I think it's a really important, today we're recording on National Suicide Prevention Day.
It's today, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's a really, really important topic. And when you're an entrepreneur, it can be lonely, and a lot of people talk about this. And I think that there's a lot that isolates you. There's things like fear, not ever knowing what your cash flow is going to be like is terrifying. The many issues that can be raised by living from one job or one consultancy project to another. Also, all of the networking you do, it can feel like a buzz, and it can be really exciting and can really energize you. But sometimes as well, it can be draining. So I wonder, have you ever felt as an entrepreneur that it can be quite difficult and lonely, or do you ever feel that idea of mental health and entrepreneurship? What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think if you've suffered from mental health issues in the past, or even if you haven't, entrepreneurship is probably the toughest thing you can do, and it's going to bring it on if you haven't had it before, or if you have, you're basically throwing yourself into the lion's den. You're going to increase your chance. At some point, something's going to happen that's kind of beyond your control, or even if it's within your control, some things will go wrong, and it's how you cope with that and how you bounce back. I think, I've done hanging out with Lizzie, spending time with her, doing interviews with her. One thing that's kind of, when I listen to her speak, it's making me realise that I think I need to be a bit more open about some of the things, the challenges that I've had over the years as well. My colleagues as well, Sarah, who helps host the Startup Week event with me, she's had some tough times. So I think I'm not saying it's quite a new thing, people are, which I think is a good thing. People are being more open about it. And definitely, I'm wearing a pair of trainers at the minute. One's got highs and lows. That's kind of like a daily reminder. That is like what entrepreneurship's like. You can have highs and lows, multiple highs and lows in one day. You can have like euphoric highs, massive lows, but it's just, you get used to it. You realize that that's just what it's like, and it's kind of like, if I think you kind of get not addicted, but you kind of like the thrill of it. You get used to those extremes, and that's what entrepreneurship's like. Not every type of thing, but if you're doing something brand new that no one's ever done before, and you're trying to be pioneering and do something like revolutionary or whatever, you're going to have more of those. If you're doing something that other people have done before and it's like a clear path how to get there, you're not going to have those massive highs and lows. But if me and Lizzie have talked quite a lot about this, I think there's something where we both quite like that. There's something, and you get comfortable with it, you get used to it. And even when you have those massive lows, you know that it's going to change. Things are going to improve. You just got to hang in there.
Absolutely. And actually, it can be quite an adrenaline rush. I definitely think it's an emotional roller coaster being an entrepreneur. One of the things I wish that people had told me, or which I wish I'd realized, is when I first decided to start my own business, I had this idea that I was just going to go and make things look pretty and get people together from all different cultures and celebrate.
Which you do.
All sorts of things like that. And I do. And I have so much fun doing it. And it really lifts my whole world. It makes me so happy. But I forgot that when you're an entrepreneur, you have to do all of your own HR and payroll and receipts and accounting and social media management and all of the things that we take for granted when we work for somebody else. You don't realize that you have to do all of that, as well as keep up with family, keep up with friends, look after your own personal well-being, you know, go at the gym. And actually it can be quite overwhelming at times. And that is a lesson that I've learned, and it's really important, but it's something that I really got a shock when I first started out. It took me by surprise. And was there anything that took you by surprise in your journey?
So I think I've talked about this before, but so startup week, the first event I did, you know, it's a big undertaking to do a 5-day, 5-night event. No one's ever done a 5-day event before because it's bloody hard work, right? There's a reason. It's a bit crazy to do, right? But anyway, I spent 9 months organising that event, put everything into it. I stopped all the consultancy work. I just spent all my time doing this event, and that was the right thing to do because it was such a big thing to do. But to be honest, I hadn't really thought about what was going to happen after Startup Week. It was all on that big event. So we did it. It was successful. Made enough money to pay my bills, pay the team, pay for the event, everything. But a lot of event organisers talk about, actually there's a guy called Jim Maudsley who's a really legendary events and club promoter. After the first Startup Week, he came up to us and goes, "Have you had event crash?" And I was like, "I have, actually," because it was all building to that event. And then even though it was successful, the day after, it was just silence. It was like, what do I do now? I didn't know what to do. And I was happy, but I was like, I really feel a bit lost here. I don't know what to do, because I hadn't really thought of anything. And then the other thing, I'd made enough money to put on the event, but I literally had no money in the bank. And I remember distinctly, I was walking through Newcastle. I didn't have enough money to buy a sandwich. And I was like, people are coming up and going, "Oh, that was amazing. You're such a fantastic." I was like, "Yeah, thank you." I was like, if only you knew, I've literally got no money until like 2-3 weeks time. I've just got to hang in there, right? So I was having to like take out like emergency loans or take out whatever to keep myself going. Anyway, second event, I was a lot more kind of prepared for that. I didn't have such a massive euphoric high and big crash at the end of it. So it was, although it was bigger, more successful, I was more level. I was like kind of, okay, this is good. And I was in a better place the second day. This year, I mean, again, we're talking about numbers of delegates. So the first 2 years we had just over 600 people. This year we had just under 800 people. We did 16 events over 5 days. So we did morning, afternoon and night. And I'd set myself a target, like a stretch target, where I wanted to get over 700, 750, and we got nearly 800, right? But in that pursuit of hitting that number, I spent more money, built a bigger team, and actually at the end of it, you look at it, it's like, was it worth it? Like, you know, financially, in every other indicator, it was a success. Financially, it wasn't that successful. Do you know what I mean? We did make more money, but I spent more money, and I kind of had a bit of an event crash this year as well, where afterwards I felt like I'd kind of let myself down or let other people around me down, because there was a point where I couldn't even afford to pay certain bills, and I was having to, anyway, sorted all that out. But what I did 8 weeks ago, I don't know, how would you describe, I just went a bit crazy. Like, I just went out and got like really drunk and just like was a bit of an idiot, and just the next day I thought, right, I need to sort things out. So bit of reflection, felt really bad about just the way I was behaving, and basically 8 weeks ago I started swimming every day. So every Monday to Friday I've been going swimming every single day. I've been eating better, I've been taking care of myself, and it's exercise, but it's relaxation, because I wasn't doing any exercise. I wasn't taking any time out to relax, or I wasn't taking any time just for me. It was just constantly always on sort of thing. So I would encourage anyone to kind of take that time out to like do a little bit of exercise, or just a bit of alone time, meditation, whatever it takes. go to the cinema. Like, one of my favorite things is go to the cinema because I'm totally immersed in the movie and I'm not looking at my phone or anything like that. That's one of the few times when I totally relax. So it can come at you when you're least expecting it. So
it's so true. I'm so grateful actually that you've been really candid about your experiences recently. What I find is you can never prepare for that event crash, and sometimes it even happens during the event, or as you say, you can snap. Something can happen. You can cry, or you can go out and have a splurge, or do all sorts of things. And I think it's so important actually that you are looking after yourself in that way and going swimming, and it's really inspiring to me. Something I'm wanting to work on at the moment is sleep. I find the constant will I be paid, when will I be paid, negotiating of who you need to pay and suppliers and that type of thing, that is definitely, it takes its toll. And when you don't sleep, you're not as productive. So yeah, I think definitely nurturing your zest, having a swim, going for a walk, whatever it may be. But it really is incredible how much exercise and food, everyone talks about it, and it feels sometimes like people can be a bit preachy about it. But I definitely agree. Linked to that as well, coffee. I am a big fan of coffee, and I think that probably impacts the sleep as well.
It's like, I think if you're giving a lot of yourself, if you're being creative, you put a lot of yourself into your work. If you're helping other people, you've got to fill yourself up as well. You've got to find inspiration and keep yourself going. So I'm definitely in a phase now where I'm attending other people's events. I'm getting inspiration. I'm doing a bit of travel. I'm reading books. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to music. I'm just like trying to. I'm constantly already, like the events I'm going to, I'm looking for speakers and ideas for how to do my events, but I'm soaking up. I'm kind of like a sponge. I'm just soaking up inspiration everywhere I can, because I know that I'm going to have to squeeze out that sponge and give that. I think you need to do that. So that even holidays, like I think one of the biggest tips I would give to anyone who's starting a business is book your holidays. Like, even if you just block it out in your diary and say, I'm going to go on holiday, or I'm going to take a day off this day, I'm going to go away for the weekend. It doesn't have to be expensive, but just book your holidays, because if you don't, you just work all the time. And the other thing that I've been thinking a lot of as well is, like, when you're in a job, one of the good stress relievers is having a bit of a moan about your colleagues or your boss. But when you're self-employed, you are the boss. So who are you going to complain about? It's just yourself. So if you need some sort of release.
You do, and it is good to vent. I think it's a bit tricky when you're an entrepreneur, because gossip can be really damaging when you are networking and working, and reputation is everything when you're out on your own. So having a moan can be quite hard sometimes, and I think that can be what makes people feel so isolated as well. I really liked how you were talking about how you swim every day, because it reminded me how much I love swimming. Actually, I need to do it a lot more, because when you get in the water, there is nothing else. You just swim. There is no one can distract you or disturb you. It did also remind me of a funny time where I was given a really cool set of headphones, a special Sony piece of equipment where you could listen to music underwater.
Right.
So I happened to be listening to Prodigy while swimming with goggles. I have to say, one of my
favorite bands.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I'm glad you like them too. But I have to say that was too much for me. It was an incredible experience, having too many sensory overload. It was insane. So after that, I still use those headphones for running and things like that, but I wouldn't personally recommend swimming with music.
Well, that's so where I go, I'm usually, when I go really early, but it's, I'm usually in there between 7 and 8 or whatever, and there's usually maybe only 1-2 other people in there. It's just peaceful. It's quiet. It's silent. All you can hear is the water. I'm not really into going to the gym. It feels a bit too kind of competitive, or kind of who else is there. I like being just like, it's just And I've been thinking, when I'm swimming, I'm trying not to think about things, but I am thinking how it is a bit like entrepreneurship. Like, I'm not competing against anyone. I'm just competing against myself. It's like I'm just doing it for me. I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm swimming for me. And I feel fitter, I feel healthier, I feel better. It's a good start of the day. It's a good way to clear out your senses. So, yeah.
I really like that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm just thinking about what we were talking about before. You know, we've been saying a lot about how you can look after yourself, how you can energize yourself and keep yourself going when you can run low and your kind of personal energy can be low.
Mm-hmm.
I think we share a similar trait in that we're both empaths and love people. So I wonder if you have any advice for anyone listening on how you can keep your energy up when there's a lot of demands on you from other people.
I think it is. I mean, you know, everyone's different, but for me, definitely. I mean, I just like people. You know, I'm just interested and curious, and I like helping. I like if there's a way I can help or signpost or battery or what. I just love doing that, and I get a lot of enjoyment from doing that. But there is no end to it sometimes, you know, like sometimes literally I've got emails, text messages, Facebook messages, Twitter messages, LinkedIn, they're coming at me from and that's fine when you're firing on all cylinders, but if you're feeling a bit tired and depleted, that's overwhelming. And I've definitely gone through a phase of that where I was like, I just, there's too much coming at me. But those people sending those messages, they don't know. They think they're the only person that's messaging you. So it's you don't want to ignore them, and you don't want to kind of tell them to go away or anything. But it's, how do you manage that when there's so many different channels you can come at? So, like I say, all I can think of is the way that I sort of got myself sort of in a good place again after Start Week was talking to people, you know, talking it through with some people that I really admire and who understand. And this, so I'll tell you, you know, I had some good conversations with my colleagues Sarah and Lisa. Had a really good hour or so with Dr. Arya, who spoke at Startup Week, and he was amazing. You know, that's what he is, a behavioral change coach, non-judgmental, just like totally listened and said he understood kind of the way I was feeling. Listen to some podcasts as well. Listen to some Stephen Bartlett podcasts.
I love him.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's interested to start their own business, listen to The Diary of a CEO. His podcasts are so good. I mean, he's, for a young guy, he's so wise beyond his years. But just listening to podcasts, watching videos, reading books, taking some time out, spending time in the countryside, spending time with my family, eating better, doing a bit of exercise, watching movies, going on holiday. Went on holiday, you know, had just probably quite normal, mundane things, but it's easy to forget about them when you're working 100 mile an hour, or you feel like you've got to work all the time. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to, and it's, you know, reminding yourself that the biggest benefit of being self-employed is, if you don't feel like working today, or you need some time out, or you want to lie in, or you can do it. Why not? So that's the benefit. That's the biggest benefit. You've got the freedom and flexibility to work when you want and where you want and how you want.
I love that. Definitely the reasons I'm doing it too. Can I ask, what book have you read that absolutely changed your life? It doesn't have to be a book. It can be a podcast also.
I don't know. I've got too many books at home, actually. I don't know. I mean, I'm a massive Seth Godin fan. You know, probably, you know, my background's mostly marketing and communications and stuff. But I mean, there's some really famous books he's got. But the ones I really like, he's written a book called Tribes. You know, which is about finding your tribe and connecting your tribe. The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, I've talked about that quite a bit. I think that's probably the one where it really clicked, where I was like, this is kind of the route I want to go down, because he talks about why some ideas are successful and others aren't, and it's usually mean, it's a very simplistic definition, but he says you normally need 3 types of people. You need what are called mavens, people who are like really curious about the world and they just love finding out about things. You need connectors who go out of their way to tell people about that idea. They don't just tell 1 or 2 people. They'll think, oh, who do I know that would benefit from this? And they'll tell them. And then you have salespeople who, I guess, marketing sales, who will actively promote it. And when I read it, I was like, I think I'm a maven, I think I'm a connector, and I'm pretty good at marketing. So that's why I call myself a super connector, because I've kind of set out to be the best of those 3 things that I can be. So yeah, that's probably had the biggest impact on me professionally, I suppose, or it's defined the whole route that I've gone down ever since.
I like that. And I love the idea of the maven, the connector, and what was the last one?
Just, he calls them sales people, but it's like sales marketing.
Yeah. Awesome. I think it's important to be curious. So what is your number 1 reason for staying or being curious? How do you stay curious?
It's funny you say that, because like my personal motto is stay curious.
Ah, awesome.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I mean, I've just always been interested and curious, and like I've always been the kind of think, well, why not? Like what's around the corner? Like I've got so I remember going on holiday with a couple of my mates to Barcelona, and we walked miles up this hill, and we almost got to the kind of the park, and one of my mates just sat down and said, I'm not going another step forward. And I was like, but it's just around the corner, and he wouldn't go further, and I couldn't understand. It was like, well, it's just there, and I wanted to keep going, and he wanted to go back. And I've always been, oh, what's around this corner? What's here? Let's try. Let's see what, it might not work, but let's just give it a go. Within reason. You don't want to be totally reckless, but like, I've just always been interested and curious about people in the world around me, and want to try and get the most out of life, and not have any regrets.
I like that, and it actually leads me on to one of my last questions. So I always like to ask, what is the number 1 piece of advice or 1 word that you would say to anyone listening who maybe wants to start their own business, or maybe facing a challenge right now? Mm-hmm. Is that word going to be curiosity, or is it going to be something else?
Oh, I don't know. Like, that's really tricky. I don't know. Like, believe in yourself. I mean, it's kind of, people are always capable of more than what they think they are, and it's only when you're in that situation that you realise what you're actually capable of. But you don't just. I think with me, everyone's different as well. But I spent a long time learning, reading, attending events, building my network. It wasn't an overnight thing. I spent 15 years like getting to the point where I thought, right, I'm ready. Some people do that immediately, but I believed that I could do it, and I suppose I'd had more likelihood of success because I'd read the books, been to the events, built a network, built up a lot of goodwill over the years. Whereas if you just come out of nowhere and haven't done any groundwork, your chances of success are a lot harder. But so yeah, I don't know, like, but believe in yourself, but yeah, believe that if you really want it, you can do it. The only difference between the people that are doing it and the people who aren't is the people that are doing it believe.
That's so true. Wow, I had never thought of it like that. That's really true.
I still struggle with it sometimes. It's like I was actually, when I was away at an event last week, they were getting us to talk about personal barriers or professional barriers. I was like, you're a product of your environment, the people that you surround yourself, or the place that you grew up in. And I was actually saying, like, despite all my kind of track record of success, if you want to call that, or whatever, I still doubt myself massively of like, well, how can I do this, or like, who am I to do this? And so yeah, it gets a bit easier, but like, and the more you do it, then you think, well, okay, I've done this, so I can, why not? It's like little baby steps, or you iterate, you build on top of what you already done. But yeah, the people that are really successful, they just somehow focus on the examples or the evidence of success rather than the reasons why they can't.
It keeps you humble and it helps you to grow, I think, to keep actually that anxiety or that nervousness or feeling like that worry about what you're doing can actually really help.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about the next Newcastle Startup Week, which is next year, although I probably won't be able to attend much because I'm going to be a full-time student.
Oh, you got to come.
I will come to what I can, and I certainly will be networking. But in the meantime, there is Founders Friday every Friday. Can you tell us?
Yeah, last Friday of every month.
Yeah.
So basically, after doing 2 Startup Week events, great as they are, it's only once a year. So I'm always thinking, okay, we're doing this big event, people are loving it, feedback's great, we're geeing everyone up, we're inspiring people, but the week after, they go back to their normal life and it gets hard again. So how do we try and keep that momentum going all year round? And also, how do we kind of find the people that missed this year's Startup Week, but kind of feed into next year's event? So we started running monthly events last Friday of every month at the Tuss Park Eagle Lab co-working space in Newcastle, which is where I'm actually based. And put a lot of thought into it, and the format I think is working really, really well. The talks are from 10 till 3 usually, so it sounds a little bit stereotypical or a bit sexist, but like a lot of women I've spoken to can't come to early morning events and they can't come to nighttime events, but they can come between 10 and 3. So that's why we do, to try to make it as inclusive and accessible to everyone. It's very informal. You don't have to come all day. You can just dip in and out. But the first hour is what we call an insights briefing. So it's usually me and up to 3 other people talking about latest opportunities, not just in Newcastle, but in the Northeast, for starting or growing a business, new support programs, new funding, new initiatives, some economic type stuff that people wouldn't normally get to hear about, maybe learnings from other events that I've been to. Then we do a startup show and tell. So we give 4 new businesses a chance to get up and talk about what they're working on in a really relaxed, non-pitchy way. It's not competitive. It's just, this is who I am. This is what I do. What do you think? And you've done a great talk at one of those. And then we have a lunch, which is paid for. And then the afternoon is more like masterclass Q&A style, which is aimed more at the founders, how they can grow their business or personally. So I think the format's working really well. The feedback we're getting from people is they really like what we're doing. It's not, there's no other event like that, not just in the Northeast, but anywhere else. I don't think. And people are travelling. Word is spreading and people are travelling from outside the region to come to it now.
I think that's great. And actually, like you say as well, the fact that you've paid attention there and made it more inclusive for people to attend. I know I've spoken to a lot of people who were there and they've been really grateful for that. And I do think that is something that's really missing in other events, where there isn't always attention to what other commitments people may have, not just for women, in terms of childcare and men who may have childcare commitments, but also things like caring or work related commitments. Maybe the latest start as well for people working nights. Mm-hmm. You know, it's nice that it's informal and anyone can come along.
Mm-hmm. We broadcast everything on Facebook Live as well, so even if you can't physically come, you can watch all the videos through the Newcastle Startup Week Facebook page. So yeah, it's all available for people to watch.
Brilliant. So while you're on air, can I twist your arm into doing a free giveaway for some tickets for Newcastle Startup Week next year? Okay,
right. So if anyone's listening to this podcast, right, so tickets for Newcastle Startup Week are on sale now. This year we're selling day tickets. Previously it's just been a one ticket for the whole week. This year it's £50 per day, or it's £150 for all 5 days. So it's better value to buy a 5-day ticket. But if anyone emails me at paul@newcastlestartupweek.com and talks about this podcast, I will give them a free ticket to day 1 of Newcastle Startup Week.
I like what you did there. Good boundaries. And also it's great that people will be able to email. So if you use the subject title, Nurture Your Zest, then Paul will know exactly what you're referring to. And before we go,
say the subject again.
It's nurture your zest.
No to your zest.
Nurture.
Sorry. Okay. Nurture your zest, which is the name of the podcast, obviously.
It is.
Right. Nurture your zest.
Yes. But my accent, I might need to work on that. Okay. Well, the last question, just as we say goodbye, how can people find you?
Pretty easy to find. Don't be put off by the hooded figure, which apparently you and Tim, who sat in the room here, were a bit intimidated by. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Lord Lancaster. I'm also Lord Lancaster on Instagram. But Twitter's kind of the main channel that I use. Newcastle Startup Week. Again, Newcastle Startup Week on Instagram. It's NCL Startup Week on Twitter, or LinkedIn. You can follow me on there. But basically all day, every day, I tweet about entrepreneurship, startups, the Northeast business scene, marketing. If you've got any questions, just tweet me. I'll always reply. That's you probably get a faster response on Twitter than you will in any other channel.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You've been listening to Nurture Your Zest. You can find us online on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Nurture Your Zest. If you've liked today, please subscribe. You can also leave us a review if you're feeling extra kind. Today's podcast has been made available through the kind sponsorship of TL Multimedia and That Branding Company. We look forward to catching up with you again soon as you learn to nurture your zest.